Hello, fellow YouTubers, truth seekers, and Mandela Affected. I'm Darkwolf, and this is Darkwolf's Den. This is Mandela Effect Theory Series number 11, the Sliders Theory, or Quantum Jumping. So what are sliders? Sliders are miniature-sized sandwiches, usually hamburgers, that are extremely tasty. They come in many, many flavors. As you see here, we got some Peking duck, some portobello mushrooms, some pan-fried fish. What does this have to do with the Mandela Effect? Absolutely nothing. I just like sliders. Now, when I went to do the research for this video, I typed in sliders into Google, trying to get some stuff from the old TV show, and I ended up with a bunch of hamburgers. So I figured I'd share that with everybody. But in all seriousness, sliders theory states, or can be stated three different ways. There's three different versions of this theory. There is the idea that we're being shifted along a series of different versions of reality against our will, or by an outside entity. There's the idea that we're all being shifted out of our own individual realities and into a single one with a slight variation from our home reality, as if timelines are combining into themselves. And there's the third option: our own consciousness is causing us to shift between realities almost at will. We will explore each one of these ideas through this video, starting with number one, that we're being shifted between realities. Say, for instance, CERN and D-Wave have ripped a hole in the fabric of this dimension, and for whatever reason, are shifting us accidentally or purposely through all these different dimensions or realms. And as an accident of this, we're shifting randomly in and out. This would explain why people around us seem to suddenly change in personality virtually overnight. There's one story, Gabby, I think her name was, I could be wrong, I could very well be wrong. She was on Dr. Lupo's show last week or week before, I believe, and she was speaking about how her husband of many, many years was suddenly not the same person, telling different stories, just different weird oddities altogether. He was not the same person that he was the night before when he went to bed. So it's like he shifted in his sleep. That's what I'm talking about. Same body, same physicality, same memories, but some of the memories are slightly off and different. So it also explains why some of us seem to be affected and others are not at all, or don't seem to be anyway. Then we have our second option. We're all being shifted out of our own individual realities into a single one with slight variations from our home reality. So as you see on the screen, this is the idea that all these multiple worlds and multiple versions of Earth or multiple timelines are all coinciding into one Earth, or what we're on right now. And they could be coming together in groups almost. Like a group from one world, a group from another world. Though circumstantial, there is a lot of evidence for this. So we've got the Mandela effects that come regularly. We've got, quote, new, end quote, old YouTube content. We've got groups arriving or awakening. Not sure which one. We can discuss that. Landmass discrepancies. The multiple variations in individual Mandela effects. And astronomical anomalies or sky changes. And again, we'll go through each one of these separately. So if we are all falling into one specific realm, then I would explain why the Mandelisms appear in waves, with approximately a month between each set. This is coincidentally lining up with lunar cycles along with the Schumann frequency. This could be the arrival time of each new group of people also. So, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but it seems that the Mandela effects come in waves. I know they've mentioned this on Lupo's show a couple times, and I noticed it before it actually came out in the show. It appears to come in waves. They have a bunch of Mandela effects, then we'll have a break. They'll have a bunch of Mandela effects, then we'll have a break. So the Mandelisms keep appearing in waves or in spurts. New, old YouTube content. So this is an interesting one. Have you noticed that on YouTube, say, it's a topic that you really, really have been passionate about, something that you really enjoy, and you've watched every video for years and years of everything that's come out. Well, suddenly you're on YouTube and you're watching a video and you get your suggestions bar on the side and you got suggestions of a new video and you've never seen this before and you look at the date and it's 5 or 6 years old. That's really, really odd. It's like we slide sometimes or shift into different areas or different dimensions where we now have access to those videos where we didn't before. And yes, some could say it's Google's algorithms changing up or mixing it up. I agree it very well could be, or it could be evidence of something else. We must be open-minded and use discernment at all times. As a side note, there is one thought that has occurred to me a couple of times, and I've heard a bunch of different people say this. Do you think that it is possible that perhaps, just maybe, when we connect to the internet and we talk to people, that some of them may literally be in another realm connecting to this one? So say I've got dimension E and dimension A, and I'm in dimension E, and I'm connected to the internet, but I'm connecting somebody in dimension A. But I wouldn't know the difference because it looks just as normal as I am right now. So it's just a side thought. I'm not saying that's what's going on by any means. Disclaimer, disclaimer. This is not Darkwolf saying this is it. This is just a side thought that I do find extremely intriguing, and there's nothing that says it can't actually be happening. So that said, let's get back to where we were. The third thing is group awakenings or arrivals. And it seems that the wave of Mandela effects, there are also waves of people who seem to be awakening to the Mandela effect all at once. It's almost like they're arriving on this new planet or new version of Earth, and they're looking around going, wait a minute, that's different than what I remember. What's going on? And it's like they're arriving in a new spot and then looking around and seeing stuff's changed and not quite understanding. And it does seem to be appearing in groups of people. So it could be that they're arriving from another Earth, or it could just be they're all waking up to what's going on. Either one's very, very interesting possibility. So next we have the land discrepancies. Now, anybody who's been studying the Mandela effect for any amount of time has run across the different land changes. Like South America being way, 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 way further right under Florida than under California, as I remember it. Many others do too. New Zealand being below Australia, not above it, which a lot of people remember otherwise. Japan being moved up, bumped up closer to North Korea. Just all these different oddities in the map that I don't remember being there. Or the North Pole ice cap that no longer exists and apparently never did. So one explanation of the landmass changes could be that we're remembering the map we remember from another reality, from the Earth that we were from originally. Like the man from Torred swore that this country was between France and Spain, where the country Andorra actually sits. So perhaps in his Earth or in his timeline, Andorra was actually Torred, and it was a completely different history. We do know this is a documented case in history. So it does beg the question, could we really be sliding between dimensions or timelines or whatever the word you would like to use in that instance? Moving on. So the Mandela effect people's affected differences. This is a really, really odd part of the phenomenon. Different people seem to be affected by different Mandela effects, and not everyone remembers every Mandela effect. So I point to things like Brian Haggerty. If you haven't checked his channel out, go ahead. I'm not name dropping as far as this one goes, but he was on Dr. Lupo's show a couple weeks ago, and he was speaking about how he remembers Berenstain always being Berenstain. I remember Berenstain and always will. There's many of them that just did not connect with him at all. They weren't Mandela effects for him. However, when it came to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the man almost flipped his lid. And that's what clicked for him with the Mandela effect. That Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood went from "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood" to "It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood." It don't even sound right to me, but this isn't about Mandelisms. Anyway, the fact that other people aren't affected the same way, yet they are affected by Mandela effects, is just really, really strange to me. Is it possible that we're remembering things like Berenstain from our home world? And some of us can be from a world that more closely matches this one than others are. So perhaps in some of the people's worlds, Berenstain was an A. And for me and a majority of others in our worlds, and yes, I said worlds, not world, perhaps Berenstain was always an E for us people, us group of people that come from that version of timelines. So the idea here is you've got multiple versions of timelines, just to recap. Multiple Earths layered on top of each other that are starting to fall apart and all combine into one single Earth, from a duality to a singularity, in other words. And some people have suggested the S falling off of some words and being added to others could suggest this, and it very well could. I'm not saying it isn't. It is intriguing as can be. And we went through all kind of different reasons why, so far, this could be possible, from the landmass changes to all the other things. Moving along, we've got one more thing to discuss on this particular part of the theory, or what could be this theory. Number 6, sky and star differences. The Mandela affected people all seem to agree that the sky looks completely different. The constellations are not positioned correctly, and many stars cannot be seen anymore. This could be due to being moved to another Earth with a slightly different sky. Personally, I think Orion's belt is not at the right angle. And to me, Orion's belt is about 15 degrees off. It should be more of a 45-degree angle, and to me, it's more of a 30-degree angle at the moment. So, I believe we could be actually looking at it from another point of view, or from another Earth altogether. This is just one of the many pieces of evidence to suggest that we could all be coming from different Earths and being pushed or falling into this one for whatever reason. And we can always speculate on the whys, and we'll do that shortly in the video. So now, back to what we were talking about. I do remember one time watching the sunset in a completely opposite spot than it normally did. So I worked at a local restaurant. I'm not going to name drop the restaurant, but it had a very large glass window set along its drive-through area. And every day from where I worked in the grill, I could see the most gorgeous sunsets I had ever seen. And one day I noticed the sun wasn't setting in the right spot. It was absolutely opposite where it always set. And I pointed this out to a coworker, and he also agreed, no, that's odd, that's not right. But as I've told this story later on, people have told me how insane I am, about the same answers I get when I talk about, I don't know, the Mandela Effect. So I have seen the sun rise in the wrong spot. I have noticed different oddities with the moon. I've noticed that the moon is not the way I remember it. The crater formations are not correct to me. The fact that we get a Cheshire quarter now instead of a regular, or a Cheshire crescent instead of a regular crescent most of the time, that's quite odd to me too. Another thing is, I remember being taught that we're on the Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way. Anybody who's seen the really old show Cosmos that was originally created in the 70s, there's a scientist named Carl Sagan who clearly states we are on the Sagittarius arm of the Milky Way in the far outskirts of our galaxy. Well, now people have apparently always been taught that we are on the Orion Spur. The Orion Spur and the Milky Way, I wish I used a picture in here to give it a little more visual, but there's about 80,000 light years difference. That's going from the very edge of a circle to halfway to the middle of a circle. A very big difference here. The circle, of course, being the Milky Way. So this is just one more piece of evidence to suggest that we're not only shifting our thought patterns, but are literally shifting into a different version of Earth altogether, with a different sky and different everything. So that is one of the last pieces of evidence I have for this part of the theory. There is one more variation of this theory that we're going to cover, and that would be the third variation. Bear with me just one second. Oh, one side note, again, I apologize. Whether we are sliding, shifting, whatever you would like to say, hourly, daily, weekly, yearly, or at will, the differences in these realities could be something as small in a blade of grass as a blade of grass in someone's yard that wasn't existent in the previous reality. So say today, right this moment, I shift to a new reality, or my consciousness shifts to a new reality. We'll come on that in a minute. So the only thing different in this reality than the other one could just very well be a blade of grass in my own yard, or my neighbor's yard, or wherever it may be. And everything else in this reality could be exactly the same as it was in the other one. I wouldn't be any different or any wiser to the difference. Yet I could have shifted into a completely different reality, and I wouldn't have even known it. Perhaps we are shifting steadily through realities, and once we start to get to the ones that aren't so much like our world, we start to notice the bigger changes, and we start to put together that something's going on, like the Mandela Effect. This is, of course, all theory. This is a theory series video. So please understand, I just ask you to consider the possibility, use your own discernment, and come up with whatever you think could be happening. So, moving on. Now, moving to the next part 3. Is it possible that we are able to use our consciousness as a tool to shift in and out of different realities at will? So, could I sit and meditate long enough and shift myself in and out of a reality? That's what this is asking. I call this free will dimensional shifting. So people like Cynthia Sue Larson have made claims that they can shift themselves into other dimensions or shift other dimensions into this one using their own consciousness or through meditation. Many shamans have also claimed to walk between worlds. There are even stories of shamans that literally have brought someone out of one world or reality or dimension or whatever word you would like to use and into this one. One man actually walked past his own grave every day as he went to work because this version of him had died. And his family begged and pleaded and begged and pleaded and begged and pleaded this shaman and paid him a large sum of money. And the shaman finally, against his own better judgment, agreed to do this. So he did whatever ritual they do and did what they call world walking. Literally walked into this other realm, grabbed the guy by the arm, and walked him into this one. So this is not a commonplace thing, but in some tribes and whatnot, it is actually very well known. So we have to at least take this into consideration that we've got early cultures, and I'm not talking ancient cultures. I mean cultures that aren't first world, say third world tribal cultures, who know the secrets of how to do this. If these secrets were picked up by the wrong person, they could very well use them against humanity and create things like the Mandela Effect. I'm not saying that's what's going on. I'm suggesting a possibility. So Cynthia Sue Larson, back to the last slide I was talking about just a moment ago, she told a story of her and her friend had locked their car keys in a trunk and was meditating and concentrating on it, and the car keys literally appeared in the air in front of them and fell to the ground. So there's multiple cases I've heard over time of things like this. She's not the first one to make these kind of claims. She's just the latest one that I've heard, and the best example I could come up with just quickly. So, moving along, I have to ask the question now in this part of the theory, could these actually be possible or even plausible? Even if they're not possible entirely, could it be plausible for any of this to happen? Well, I've come up with 4 reasons why it very well may be. From CERN to quantum physics to our own consciousness to just being absolute natural phenomenon that may very well have been hacked or not. It could just be a natural phenomenon that we're coming upon. So starting out with CERN. CERN has admitted that they are attempting to open doors to other realities. There's a TEDx talk with a guy named Jordy Rose, and he works for D-Wave Computers. They've also said that their product is designed to open up, quote, doorways, end quote, to other realities, end quote, pull their resources into this one, end quote. This is from Jordy Rose's TEDx talk on D-Wave quantum computers. I will attempt to find a link, but I cannot promise to leave it in the description. I will try. But what we have here is 2 different companies who have both said we're trying to open doors to another reality and who have both been known to work together. As a matter of fact, D-Wave, or at least one of their computers, is located in CERN. They use this to do their calculations, supposedly. I think it goes a little more deeper than that, but we can speculate on that all day long. I'm throwing the idea out there like I do in almost every video. I really think that they are a catalyst, if not the cause. I'm not saying they are the cause. I think they're a part of. So, anyway, CERN and D-Wave could very plausibly have figured out a way to open the dimensional realms, or the doorways they kept talking about, and port us through different realities, whether intentional or accidental. So then we have quantum physics. So say there's an impending doom on our home planet, and CERN and D-Wave found a way to open that dimensional rift and send our consciousness through it into this dimension. The fact that our bodies are physically different now would suggest that our consciousness, not our physical bodies, are being shifted. So quantum physics suggests that consciousness could be ported or moved through dimensions and realities through some kind of rift. How? Through quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. It says that every particle has a sister particle, or one just like it, that is connected to it. So with this said, it could be possible that our consciousness is being flipped back and forth between two or more quantum entangled versions of ourselves in different realities. So quantum entanglement states that, say, a neuron in my brain is a single atomic structure. It could be quantumly entangled with the same neuron in the brain of every parallel version of me that ever existed and ever will. So I could theoretically have that kind of knowledge, even though I don't know how to access it yet. This is only theory, but quantum physics states this is completely within the realm of science. Now, that said, I'd like to take a second to make a note about Quantum Leap. As far-fetched as this may seem, if you do remember the show Quantum Leap, he didn't travel through time as a physical person. Sam Beckett didn't look like Sam Beckett every episode. He looked like whoever's body his consciousness entered into. So to say we're being shifted could necessarily not mean our bodies are shifting. It could just very well mean that we're literally having our consciousness shifted along these different timelines, because that's what our awareness would be our consciousness. And that leads us into quantum consciousness. From quantum physics experiments like the double slit experiment, we find that our own consciousness, even merely consciously observing this experiment, affects the outcome. If you don't know what the double slit experiment is, look it up. I may very well do a video on this because I use it so much as examples in my videos. So I may do a breakdown video like I did with Parallel Worlds and explain exactly what the concept is behind this experiment and the repeating of this experiment over and over and over. In the case of the double slit, quite dramatically, our thoughts change the outcome. And the intent we put into it really, really has a lot to do with it, I think. Whether we're subconsciously or consciously putting that intent into it, that is merely speculation on my part. But we have proven that consciousness affects the outcome of certain experiments like the double slit. The reason why science is still up in the air about quantum is a very, very strange set of mechanics of physics. If you're interested in it, please look up more about it. I beg anybody who's found anything interesting in this video or any of my do so far, please, please, please do research. Do not take my word or anybody else's. Do your own research, verify, and use discernment. All I can do is put the ideas that I know out there, the research that I found out there, and let everybody make their own decisions. And quantum consciousness, that is an interesting idea because it's literally speaking of manifesting reality. And some people might think, well, you're talking new agey stuff. Well, no, not really at all. Because I've always said the Christians have a word for it it's prayer. The Buddhists call it meditation. The Satanists have a word, dark rituals. The New Age call it law of attraction. But they're all saying the exact same thing. And if you look back across the ancient cultures, they even say it quite a bit. They're all speaking of manifestation. They're just using different words to describe it. There's stories in and out of the Mandela Effect community that talk of manifesting things all the time. The law of attraction, law of one, that's a big one you can find nowadays. And they're all saying the same thing. They're putting energy, they're putting their own energy into an idea or a thought form. And the more energy you put into that thought form, the more likely it is to become a solid reality. That is the idea of manifestation. And I've seen things manifest in my own life. So I cannot say this isn't real. Christians will swear by it. They just call it prayer. But it's the exact same thing. It's putting energy into something and getting a reality-based answer back out. So the fourth option that could be plausible for this theory is that it's just a natural occurrence. That the Mandela Effect could be the name for something that has been happening for all of time. We're just not aware of it until the internet allowed us to begin comparing notes. Now, that said, there is a video you can look up from a guy named Philip K. Dick. He was a very famous sci-fi writer. And to all those that are giggling and snickering right now at the name, don't worry. I did the same thing when I first heard it, so I don't blame you. But the writer, Philip K. Dick, he's, yeah, there it is again. He's known for books and movies like Total Recall and A Scanner Darkly, which are really, really great movies. And he spoke of reality being, quote, a simulation, end quote, that you don't notice until, quote, some small variable is changed, end quote. And now if that doesn't sound like the Mandela Effect, I don't know what is. He was following along the idea of simulation theory, but it could just very well point to a natural occurrence, because that was over 50 years ago when he was speaking of this. And we're just now bringing these concepts back up within the Mandela Effect. So one more thing I'd like to cover before I end this would be shifting sickness. This is also called ascension symptoms or ascension sickness. This has been described by many of the people in the Mandela Effect community, especially when the human resonance gets really high, which could explain it. Or it could be the fact that people are literally being shifted and these are some side effects that are happening. Right after someone reports a shift, they report feeling nauseous, dizzy, headaches, many symptoms of vertigo. I've heard vomiting. I've heard just really, really odd things, memory lapses, just a whole lot of oddities that go on right after a shift. The body feeling really, really odd. And this is not just one person that have made these claims. There are multiple people who have made ascension symptom or shifting sickness claims. So if some of these are happening to you, you might have a medical issue, or if you can go to the doctor and figure out there's no real legit reason this should be happening, you may be experiencing a shift. So, what do you think, guys? Do you think that we, or at least our consciousness, could be sliding through different dimensions? If so, why do you think it could be occurring? Do you think the CERN and D-Wave have mastered what they were trying to do? Do you think it could be our own consciousness causing it and we're not aware we're manifesting things? A whole world of people manifesting stuff they have no idea they're manifesting. Or could it be natural occurrences? Just something that's always been going on and we're just now figuring it out. I'm going to leave this out to you guys. This is Mandela Effect Theory Series video number 11. This is the Sliders Theory. If you guys think this is possible, let me know. If you think the reasons behind it are possible, please definitely also let me know. I look forward to hearing from everybody in the chats. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up and let us know that you like this video or any of them we do on this channel. It's you guys that keep us going. I must drop an apology really quickly. It has taken me about 2 weeks now to get this video out. It is partly because of research. However, I had a computer system at one point. I had everything on. I was doing research for this. I was working on the slideshow for this. And wouldn't you know, the darn thing took a crap out on me. So I had to completely go get a brand new system with no information, and I had to start all over again. I went from a Windows system to an Android system. So that's why it's taken a while to get things out. I've had to get a whole new set of programs to work with Android that don't work with Windows. I've had to figure out a whole new way of making these videos for you guys using Android, not Windows. It's really been a fun learning curve, but I do it for you guys. I do it so I can get these ideas out here. I hope everyone's enjoying it. I do apologize it's taken so long. Hopefully now I've got a format that I can use that works very safely, very steadily, that wouldn't be breaking down on me like the other one did. If you haven't noticed me down here in the right-hand corner, I'm down here. Hi, everybody. Hope you have noticed by now. Anyway, make sure you hit that thumbs up button so when I am able to post videos, you guys can find out about it. Make sure you hit the bell and the subscribe button. Because if you hit subscribe, you'll find out, yes, when you go to my channel, you'll find out it'll be in your subscription feed. However, if you hit the bell, you'll actually get a notification as soon as I upload a video. Like everyone who's got the notifications coming up when I upload this video to YouTube, and when it goes out across amongst the public, that's because they hit that bell button right there. So y'all make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the bell, hit the thumbs up. We appreciate everybody who's come by to join us. We love having you guys here. If you have any ideas on future videos, please drop me a line. I've got a whole lot more theories coming out, guys. So I look forward to seeing everyone again in hopefully just a week. I hope it don't take 2 more weeks. If it does, I'll see you on the next video. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody who is within the sound of my voice, remember, please stay awake, but always dare to dream.